Okay, I'm live on YouTube and Facebook. Oops. Just waiting for everyone to turn up. Okay. Hello. People are just dribbling in here. It's a little bit late for me to be doing a live, but here I am. I often tend to do a live on Sunday night. Okay, so just waiting for everyone to turn up. While we're waiting for people to enter here, where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Where are you from? Gets dark nice and early here. I moved to Australia like a long time ago. I was there for 20 years. And no one tells you certain things because they don't think about it. But in the middle of summer, it's pitch black at like 7 p.m. there. Whereas here in Vancouver, it can be in the middle of summer, it might be 11 o'clock at night and it's just getting dark. So that struck me as funny. I thought the tropics, I just had it envisioned like it's sunny all night. But no, it's dark really early. I don't know. I was talking to someone about that the other day. I'm just killing time waiting for you to turn up. Anyway, where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver. Where are you from? Originally from Montreal, but in Maryland now. Fellow Canadian. Oh, okay. Hi, Cheryl. It's on YouTube. Okay, so just waiting for people to turn up before I really get going. I was doing some filming today, and my daughter tells me what to do. She does all the planning. And she said, here, I want you to do videos and this. I'm not good at anything prepared. I just seize up. It's the weirdest thing. If I'm told what to talk about, I just freak out. So I just like to sort of come up with stuff. But anyway, it's quite funny. I got a couple done. I'll get the rest done later. North Van. Hi, Brioni. North Vancouver. For anyone who doesn't know, North Vancouver and West Vancouver, it's not just a section of Vancouver. It's a whole other, like you have to go across a big bridge and sort of it's up against the mountains. It sort of slides up on the mountains. North Van and West Van. Okay, Kansas City. Hi, Cynthia. Alabama, Ashley in Alabama. Okay, got enough people here to get going, so I'll just start the live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. And if you check out my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching. There's a big wait list for that, but I will get to you eventually. And if you want to listen to our podcast, it's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us do it, because my daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. She organizes everything. Perryville, Missouri, Cheyenne. Welcome. And Tampa, Jocelyn. That's Florida, right? I've heard people say Tampa and then Tampa Bay. Are they different? Is Tampa different from Tampa Bay? Anyway, Ontario, Canada. And Milton, Ontario. Yeah, I got a lot of Canadians here tonight. Oh, okay. Indonesia. Hello. Okay, so I'm just going to get going with your questions. Hi. I can't pronounce your name there. It's on YouTube, so it's not always people's names. In Michigan. And another Ontario. Wow. A lot of Canadians here tonight. Okay, so welcome to the live. I'm just going to answer questions. I also like to throw other stuff in and like just the odd tidbit in here and there, because most of the questions revolve around discipline, and that's really not what I'm all about. Discipline is important, but it's not where I put all my energy. All my energy goes into connecting and bonding with kids. When they feel good about themselves, they do good anyway. So my goal is always to make them feel good, because if you feel good, you do good. If you feel bad, you do bad, right? So that's how I operate. Heather from Toronto. Jesse from Michigan. Florida. Nope, it's the same. Oh, okay. Tampa and Tampa Bay. Ohio and Texas. Hi, Amy and Laura. Oh, Tokyo. Anne from Tokyo. Geez, I really want to go to Japan. One of my neighbors just went to Japan. They raved about it. So I only hear good things about Japan. I got to get there one day. Jessica from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't think I have any clients in Japan right now. I've got, I think, a client in China right now, but not in Japan. Okay, so here we go. Let's go with the questions. Ashley says, how to deal with older kids' tantrums. Is it the same as a toddler when they were 8 or 9? Yes, it is. Exactly the same. If they're still having tantrums past the age of 3.5 to 4, there must be a payoff. They only do what works past that age. So it means that you must be feeding it, getting upset. You got to be doing something. Any attention is tantrum food. So it must be working, because they're not stupid. We are. Adults are dumb. We do the same thing, or I do anyway. I do the same thing repeatedly, expecting different results. Kids aren't like that. They're not that stupid. I am. They're not. But yeah, they don't keep doing the same thing over and over again unless it works. So you must be feeding the tantrum. I'm going to go back here just a sec. Okay, so Hannah says, I'm curious to hear your approach on a 2-year-old starting to scream at me and hit me when he is being told no or to stop doing something. He screams no back at me and attempts to hit me, I think. He may have learned this behavior in daycare. Yeah, it doesn't matter where they learn it. Anyway, so yeah, if he's screaming and starting to hit, you just say no. And then okay, the first hit you can't always see coming. So if he hits you, you say no. You take his hand or whatever and just sort of push him away a little bit. And then you walk away or look like you're distracted and doing something else. So the consequence is pushing him away, okay? And then ignoring him. That is sort of the consequence. That's one way to do it. Another one is if he tries to hit you with a toy, I would take the toy away. I'd say no and put the toy away. You're going to cause a bigger scene, but that's always what you want. The tantrums, the meltdowns, the scenes, those are the lessons. A lot of parents say, yeah, but if I do that, then he's going to have a fit. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you want. You want him, his fit, his tantrum is him processing you being in charge. That's what that is. So it's him processing. He can't get what he wants, when he wants, and how he wants it all the time. Okay? And that's okay. When do you usually see the 3-year-old fork in the road? Like the day the kids turn 3 or within a few weeks, months of turning 3? As soon as they blow out their candles at 3 years old. It's pretty much right around 3. It could be a month or 2, but it's just from my own perspective, it's usually right around 3. That's the fork in the road is what they're talking about. That's when I always say they turn 3 and then it's almost like they blow out the candles and they go, wait a minute, do you know what you're doing or should I take charge? So they sort of assess the situation here. So are you a leader as a parent? They get easier. If you're not, they'll often get worse. That's the fork in the road. They go good or evil. They go either way, or they might just be easy kids and it doesn't matter anyway. But if they're going to be a handful, it's usually at 3, they kind of figure you out and they realize you don't know what you're doing. So they're going to take charge. Three-year-old daughter seems to get frustrated very easily when she can't do things by herself, getting dressed, making bracelets, etc. Yeah, I know what that's like. I've seen lots of kids do that. I can't do it, and they just throw it. Just say, well, that's okay. Like, I don't feed that energy. I don't tend to baby it. I just say, oh, well, okay, we'll try again tomorrow. They're often, it is frustration, but they're often looking for you to justify it and to try and explain them through it. It's a way of getting attention, not in the way that you normally think of it. They're already getting attention half the time when they do it, but it's a way of getting attention for that particular behavior. It's a bit of poor sportsmanship is what it is. It's like if things don't go their way, they just have a fit. So it's a little bit of poor sportsmanship. They just, okay, doesn't matter. And then just put it away. Like, don't feed it. They'll eventually learn. Some people will say, well, you say, okay, try it like this and like that. Sometimes it makes it worse when you try and help them. But I would just be more likely to say, no, it's okay. We'll try again tomorrow. Like, I don't feed it. Westfield. I have no idea where Westfield is. I've heard of it before, but I have no idea. Okay. How do you deal with a clumsy 7-year-old boy constantly spilling, knocking things over? I don't know. Does he have any problems with that? Like, does he have any vision problems? I maybe haven't checked out if he's that clumsy or if he's just overactive and always moving too much. I would just remind him. I would say, come on now, you got to plus I wouldn't give him a full glass of milk. Like, I'd say, look, just if you're inclined to spill something, just put half in. So yeah, but don't make a big deal out of it. You don't want to embarrass him. My daughter had a clumsy bone in her body for sure. So, but I was determined to train her out of that. So I made a real point of it. I would say, look, I've got this here, make sure it stays on there. And then I would remind her because I just think she was just born that way. She was just born not to be into details. And yeah, but she's very detailed now with work. But anyway, so yeah, I kind of trained her out of that. It was important to me. The reason is I was worried that she would clumsily walk in front of a bus one day. She just did things without thinking when she was really little. But yeah, she learned. Just moving too much. Nope, just moving too much. Don't know what that's answering. Oh, I hate this question. Any ideas for dealing with an 18-month-old that hurts the dog for attention? Ugh. Yeah, okay. I hate the idea of an animal being mistreated. I always had a house full of kids and animals. And if I couldn't control my kids and protect those animals, I literally would have rehomed them. My kids knew you never pick up the dog because they could have dropped her, and you never run past the bird cage. If I couldn't control my kids to protect my animals, I literally would have adopted them out. Literally. I'm such an animal lover. So I don't know what to tell you. You just use consistent corrective action to try and stop the behavior. If you can't handle it, keep them separate, or, adopt the animal out. Sorry, but that's my view on it. I'm such an animal lover. Oh, you're a teacher. Yeah, I don't discuss teaching. They're very different roles. A lot of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. I couldn't do their jobs, but they are jobs. Parenting is not. It's personal. It's very different. Some stuff does cross over, but a lot doesn't. Okay. How do I get my husband to? So you want me to help you handle your husband? Yeah, just show him my videos, and if he doesn't get it, then I can't help you. This happens a lot. Like, a lot of times people will hire me and just one parent will be on board with it and the other one won't. And I say, just make sure they don't undermine you, because you pay a lot. Well, in coaching, they pay me a lot of money for that. And I say, don't waste your money. I said, just don't let them, you tell them they can't undermine you, but they don't have to necessarily follow through with it. You have to take charge. But once they start to see the results, they usually get on board. Oh, the toddler bed. Okay, so if you want to transition from a crib to a bed, what I did with my kids, nowadays they're a lot more safe, but back in the day, like when my kids were in a crib, they were quite shallow and they were flopping out at like 1 year old. So they could literally get over the top at 1 year old. Now, I know my granddaughter, she's almost 2. They're really deep now. There's no way she could get out of there, but she's not a climber. Plus, she's in that sleep sack, so they don't have bare feet to get their foothold on the side of the crib. When they got bare feet, they can sort of get their sweaty little toes to climb the side of it. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, I would transition them in. What I did with my kids is once they flopped out, they were in a real bed really quite early. Or else what I did was I put the side of the crib down so that they could safely climb out. But then what I ended up doing, it's a long time ago now, what I ended up doing was just dismantling the crib, and they just slept on the crib mattress for a while till we got the other bed set up. And then I just put pillows and blankets around it. So if they rolled up, it was no big deal. But yeah, if they wouldn't stay in bed, I just kept walking them back to bed. Say the first time you say bedtime, the second time you might say bedtime again. And every time after that, you walk them very slowly, though. You're very calm and you walk very slow. And then you just keep walking them back to bed. The whole idea here is that they're going to wear out quicker than you are because they're little, right? So you just keep walking them back to bed, and then they just learn. It's a process. How can I navigate my 3-year-old's current preference for my husband, and what's the healthiest way for me to respond? Okay, well, I'll tell you what I did with my kids. I can remember one of them was yelled out from the bathroom, "I want mom," because dad was giving him a bath. And I yelled back from the family room, "Well, you're stuck with dad, so deal with it." Like, there's no way they're going to control who they're going to have, right? So then the next time they said it, the next kid said it, and my husband at the time said, "Well, you're stuck with me, so deal with it." Like, don't give in to that. It doesn't mean they love you anymore. They'll go through preferences. It's not a big deal. But yeah, just say, "Oh, well, that's okay. You're stuck with me." Don't feed into it. A lot of times it's your emotions and your response is what feeds it. Well, you said how to handle 3-year-old who regressed into behaviors again after new baby. Well, you didn't say what it was, but just use the behavior board. It's free on my website, and put whatever behavior you want to correct, put it on the board. I was at Costco today. Can you ever go to Costco without spending a fortune? Is that possible? I don't know. Anyway, got a lot of stuff today. Because I'm just drinking something that I brought, some soda water or something. Syracuse, New York. You could never pronounce that if you hadn't heard that before. It's one of those. Welland, Ontario. I have a lot of Canadians tonight. It's usually mostly Americans and a lot of Australians. Okay. 3-year-old constantly in a mood, whining, crying, talking like a baby, throwing a fit when she doesn't get what she wants. Oh, you're feeding it. And I can't talk about the food because that's a dietitian's job or a nutritionist's job. I'm not a doctor. But yeah, she's just running the household. She knows it. Okay. So I would suggest that you might want to check out my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds. It's sort of more extensive, or you can just look at the free behavior board and start there. It's the training wheels with all this stuff. It's on my website, BratBusters.com. Yeah, she's just playing you. She's playing you like a fiddle. It obviously bothers you. The kid's whining and crying with me. I go, oh, you're all right. And then I just carry on with business, and yeah, they eventually stop. But it's a manipulation thing usually, unless she's got some trauma going on. I don't know, but generally it's just manipulation. Like if you say to a child who's very whiny and demanding, what do you want? Okay, I already gave you that. That is, you're feeding it. I just go, you'll be all right. My mother would have said, you'll survive. And I would have gone, okay. Like, don't feed it. Costco or really any store. Everything is pricey nowadays. You betcha. Actually, Costco wasn't too bad today, I must admit. Wasn't too bad. The checkout, the what do they call it? Self-checkout. There was no lineup or anything. So I can't complain. It wasn't too bad today. But I did get a lot of stuff. I'm vegan, so I just stocked up on on produce there. But I think the meat, it's a lot cheaper to eat vegan. I didn't do it for that reason, but it's a lot cheaper. But then when I have people over, I buy meat for other people, and yeah, bill goes right up. How to get a 2-year-old to stay seated until we are done eating at the table. Okay, are they finished eating? And you expect them just to sit there and watch you? Are you entertaining while you're sitting there? Are you chatting to them? Are you making it fun? And are they in a high chair, or are you letting them just run around? So yeah, those are my 3 questions I would ask. Yeah, if you have big general questions like why is my 7-year-old all of a sudden, just a terror, that would be coaching. I'd have to assess that. I don't know why she's done that. I would have to assess that. But just start out. If you want to deal with bad behavior, you're trying to work on your leadership, you can just start with my free behavior board and start there. But yeah, no one can answer that question because they don't know your situation. Okay, if you got a 3-year-old who's doing a lot of potty talk, so you put down on the behavior board, no bad words, and say all those words are bad words. And then every time they do, there's a consequence. Okay, that would be the rule. No bad words. How to recognize if a toddler is throwing a fit for attention or is needing a time of reconnection, and how to address. Well, I don't know. That's kind of a tough one. Because I don't know what kind of attention you're getting. They might want attention anyway, but do they need it? There's a difference between just wanting your attention constantly 24/7 and needing more attention. So that's what I can't really answer. Also, when you play with a toddler, I'm really good with connecting with toddlers, but I'm also really good at getting them going and then walking away. So, and you always want to present something new and interesting. Like I would just I literally will go through the recycling bin and pull out stuff in there and then just turn it into a game, like literally just a bunch of old toilet rolls or something, tape them all together and shoot down little cars through that toilet roll, tape one end to the dining room table. So you start them off and then you say, oh, okay, I'm going to go do the laundry now, and then just walk off, and they'll play on their own then. So have they got enough interesting stuff to do, I guess is what I'm getting at. Are they just bored with all their toys? Do you have a playroom full of toys and it's chaotic? Boring. Kids hate that. They like everything organized, and you don't have very many things out at any given time, but you pull out new stuff all the time. That's what I did. I rotated stuff. So they always had new stuff to look at, but they just saw it last week, but it's new because they haven't seen it in a week, right? So yeah, I was always pulling stuff out. So yeah, are they just bored? How'd you train your daughter to watch for cars and be more careful? I'm not sure I understood what you said. Yeah, my daughter, my son was very, very much like me, very cautious and always thought before he did anything, whereas my daughter was more inclined to just do stuff and knock stuff over and that, right? So I was worried that she would just walk in front of a car, just that absent-minded thing. So, but I just made a real point of it. I just did. Every time we stopped, I never just did it. I always said, we're going to stop and wait for cars now. And then, of course, she was never on her own until she was old enough to do that anyway. So, but yeah, I always made a point of it. And I never said sort of, don't do that. I just said, okay, I always emphasize what you do right, not what you were doing wrong. Like I didn't say, don't knock that over. I didn't tend to talk like that. I probably said it the odd time, but I tend to say, okay, be careful with that. You know, we want to make sure it doesn't spill or but I didn't sort of make it a negative. She might argue that. Got to be a joke. I probably did call her a klutz a few times as she got older. It got to be a joke. I don't know how she did it, but we used to laugh at this. She used to pour, she was a clumsy kid, but she used to pour her own milk and literally she would pour it until it had a tension bubble. You know what I'm talking about. It was like that. And then she'd carry it to the table like this and it never spilled a drop. It was the most bizarre thing. But she dropped everything else, but just this milk she would carry. We used to laugh at that. Oh, what was this? I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, we used a lot of humor in our family. Okay. BratBusters Parenting, can you do a series on teens and preteens? Preteens are 9 to 12, and that's included in my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds. 13 and above, I said I was going to have the teen course done hopefully in September and October, but my daughter had other plans. You have to talk to her about that. She runs the business basically. She does all the planning and marketing. And we're working on something else that we can't really tell you right now, but we're working on something else instead. So she feels it's more important to do this other thing. So yeah, I've been told. Oh gosh. Okay, sorry, I have to go because I'm moving over to Instagram now, but I'll be on YouTube still. Whenever I'm doing a live, I'm always on YouTube, and that's where I save all of my lives, okay? Anyway, I'm going to be hopping over to Instagram. If you don't want to join me there, check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for older kids. If you want to work with me one-on-one, that would be coaching. I do have a big wait list for that, but I'll get to it eventually. If you want to listen to the podcast, it's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and you can watch it on YouTube if you want. My daughter and I film ourselves, and we put it on YouTube. Well, she does all that. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to Instagram. Bye now. Sorry, there's just so many buttons to push. And that. And there we go. Okay. Oh, thanks for your support. DLaird15 on YouTube. I've been teaching this for 20 years. And when I first started, it was brutal. No one wanted to listen because the pleaser parent style just had a chokehold on parents because it sounds so lovely. Discuss all their big feelings and big emotions. It's crap. It doesn't mean you ignore their feelings and emotions, but you don't lead with all that stuff. You lead with leadership, right? So, and connection. That's not how you connect with kids. Anyway, so, but yeah, it's quite interesting. In the last few years, I've kind of blown up, but people are just ready to hear it. Nice space braids. Is that what they're called? Space braids? Yeah, I wear these a lot. It's just so easy. Okay, so welcome to my live. I'm on Instagram now. So whenever I do a live, I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all my lives are saved. And I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. So I go from my smallest platform to my biggest. And Instagram's my middle one. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, or you can look into my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for older kids. Or you can, if you want to hire me for coaching, it's a big wait list for that, but I'll get to eventually. But there's no wait list for the podcast, and that is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us do the podcast, my daughter and I. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. This is something funny, but every so often you get people who just hate my guts, and they go, and we get a kick out of this. And they just, every single day they post how horrible I am. There was someone on Facebook, I think they're gone now. We kind of miss them. They just said horrible things about me. And they said, oh, and she's got 2 sons and she doesn't speak to them. Well, I have a son and a daughter. And then we started the podcast and my daughter and I do it together. So we never heard from them again. Radio silence. So anyone who's been watching me for a while, they know I get a kick out of that stuff. Imagine having the time to hate a stranger that much and post all about. I think it's an obsession that they get. But yeah, they just stopped instantly. Okay. Oh, thanks for your support. I appreciate that. Brisbane. Oh, excellent. Whereabouts do you live? I lived in Arana Hills. It's right near Ferny Grove, which is the end of the train line out sort of northwest. So where do you live in Brisbane? Amanda? That's where my kids were raised in Australia, born and raised there. How do you handle a 3-year-old misbehaving in a restaurant? You handle it the same way you handle it at home. You fix everything at home, and then when you go out, it just transfers there. You got to be the exact same parent. So that says to me that they misbehave at home too. So you just don't notice it because you're home and you're comfortable with it. So yeah, fix the stuff at home first, and it transfers out into the world. And you want to be the exact same parent. Like, don't change your parenting when you're out. Oh, I got someone doing some marketing for me here on YouTube. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm no good at marketing and all that stuff. I'm in the caring field, so I'm here just to share and give them information. I'm not good at all that marketing. My daughter does all that, but we're very subtle about it. We're just handing out information all the time. We haven't partnered with anyone. There's a lot of money on the table that we've turned down because I can't imagine partnering with people who are selling phones or something. They offer you a lot of money, right? Because they want your audience. But yeah. Okay, so I'm scrolling ahead just to make sure you're here when I answer your question. Where are you located? I'm here in Vancouver, but all my business is done online. Maybe once or twice a year, I'll get a coaching client in Vancouver. But it's all done online anyway. Okay. Yeah, if you've got a 16-month-old growing out of his crib, just put him in a toddler bed. I would completely childproof that room. I don't like locking kids in rooms, but I would have a bell on the door if you can open it, just so I know he's coming out. And you've got all sorts of monitors. You don't want a 16-month-old wandering the halls at night. So yeah, just keep putting them back to bed, and they'll eventually get used to not getting out of bed. Okay, they just do. It's tough though, because my kids are really little too. They started flopping out of their crib really young, so I put them in the toddler bed. How do you handle a biting 3-year-old? Don't usually keep biting at 3 if they're old enough. I would just not do that. I would put no biting on the behavior board, and every time they do, there's a consequence. Oh, thanks. I don't. Someone just said on YouTube, I love your authenticity. I don't know how to not be authentic. It always surprises me when someone says, oh, I met that person in person and they were completely different. Yeah, I don't know how to be. I don't know how to be phony is what I'm saying. I have no filter, none. I appreciate that. It's not always a good thing. I'm pretty careful with what I say, but I don't really have a filter. I feel like I'm jumping all over the place tonight. I feel because I got something else on my mind that I should be doing, and I'm just not into it tonight. If my daughter's watching, she'll know what I'm talking about. I'm supposed to be doing some filming for something, but I just had, sometimes it's a creative process and I just couldn't get into it. And I was just struggling. So maybe tonight I'll get some more filming done. Talk about tweens. Well, tweens are 9 to 12-year-olds and they're transitioning into the teen years, but your parenting is very similar as they are with a 3-year-old. That's why the boot camp course goes from 3 to 12. You're still the same parent. Even though they're very different at 3 than they are at 12, you're still the same parent. That boot camp course can stretch up to about 14, depending on their maturity level, right? So, but it's giving respect to get it. That's basically all it is. Teens are quite different, but yeah, it's all the same stuff. Everything I'm talking about with kids is for tweens also. A lot of people will say, oh, well, she's 9 going on 19. No, she's not. We'll talk again when she's 19. I call it masking. They'll mask an older kid, but they're not there. They're nowhere near there. And some are more mature than others for sure. But a lot of parents seem to think that they've got like an 11-year-old who's going on 20. No, I always say, we'll talk in a few years. They're not. They can mimic it, but they're not there. Okay. I know the way kids talk to you doesn't go on the behavior board, but how do you handle it? Just ignore? Yes, unless it's bad words or name calling. Those are the only two things I would put on the behavior board. If they do that, I would say no bad words and no name calling. Any other attitude is just a sign for you to fix yourself, okay? Their bad attitude towards you says that you're not a leader and you've got some work to do. That's all it is. So don't blame them for it. Blame yourself. You always want to look in the mirror when your kids are naughty. Always. If your kids do something naughty, you look in a mirror and think, what am I doing wrong? Always, always look to yourself, especially with attitude. That's why you can't address it. It's not bad behavior. It's a lack of respect for you. So look at it that way. Their bad attitude towards you is you not being a leader. That's all it is. Bad behavior we can address, but not bad attitude. Four-year-old disagreeing a lot, to me, it's not an age thing at all. It means he doesn't respect you. And I was just talking about that. The way you start getting respect is you check out my free behavior board, or you can go to the boot camp course, okay, the 3 to 12-year-old one. It's teaching you how to do this, or just watch tons of videos, okay, leadership parenting. I teach how to be a calm leader for kids. You be calm during, be crazy during the rainbows and calm during the storms. So if everything's great, you can be crazy and fun, and, because fun is their love language. And you can be crazy, chase them around the house with underpants on your head. But when you're disciplining them, calm as anything. Calm as a cucumber. Never show fear, okay? And anger is fear-based. I haven't said this for a while, but this kid, I often used to talk about this kid just briefly. 8-year-old little boy I was asked to work with. I'd heard about him. I knew he was a handful. And as soon as I met him, he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. You could see it in his face. He looked relieved. He was like, oh, she knows what she's doing. He was great with me. Okay. They don't tend to act out with a leader. A leader brings out the best in them. A non-leader brings out the worst. So it's always you. Later on, the teacher said, how did you do that? He was so good with you. And I said, oh, I just asked him to have a fit. But you see, I have no fear of it. None. Bring it on. That's my strength. Is being able to be calm during your fits, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums. Doesn't bother me at all. Yeah, go right ahead. It's none of my business. I'll be here filing my nails, They only do that stuff because it upsets you. If it upsets you, they're going to keep doing it. I have a 13-year-old been telling she cannot date. She does not listen. What can I do? You got to negotiate that. That would be a coaching thing. I don't have a teenage course yet, but yeah, that comes up a lot in coaching. If you want to work with me, that would, because I'd have to assess the situation. What does she call dating? I would allow her at 13 years old, I would allow her to go out with a boy, so long as it's a group situation and it's not all couples. If it's other couples, they're all going to couple off. Also, they can't go to the movies. Lots of stuff happens in a dark theater. So they have to go somewhere public. You have to drop them off. You have to pick them up. So I would have rules around it. But what is dating with a 13-year-old? That's what I would have to assess. But if it's innocent dating, that's how I would handle it. Yeah, don't be intimidated by a child. Perfect. I should have said that. Perfect. Don't let them intimidate you. They're just kids. They're little tiny human beings. Don't be afraid of them. Yeah, that's what this is all about. They say, but they're so wild. They're so, right. They're kids, right? And they're feeding off your energy. If you're calm, it just calms them down. You hear a lot these days about, I don't look at what else is out there, but clients tell me, because I've never looked at, I don't know any other coaches or anything. I've never read a book on parenting or kids. I stay in my lane. Kids taught me all this. So, but you see a lot of this discussing their big feelings and big emotions and all this stuff. You don't ignore emotions, but when they're angry and having a fit because they didn't get their own way, I'm not talking to them. No freaking way. No way. That's their business. It's not my business. But when you're a good leader, they'll tell you everything. They're not going to keep anything to themselves. They're going to tell you everything because you're a safe place to land. They trust you. Okay. Horrible. We lost Daddy 2.5 years ago. Do you recommend me taking him to counseling? Oh, I love therapy, counseling. I love all that stuff. So yeah, if you get a good one, do some shopping though. Get a good one. And yeah, sure. If it helps, absolutely. I remember I lost my dad when I was 14. He had a long illness, so I knew he was dying for years. It was I lost my childhood basically, and but the worst part was no one else was going through it. I was so alienated because people were afraid to talk to me about it, and they would avoid me. And it was a very lonely time. Not only was I grieving, no one was talking to me. I was completely alone. I'd walk down the hallways at school and they would just empty. Even teachers would never get eye contact with me because no one knew what to say to me. People were stupid back then. That was back in 1975. And, but yeah, it's that, I don't know how old your kids are, but what helped me was when I started, started meeting other people who'd been through it. No one I knew really in my school, but outside I started to meet other people, other kids who'd lost parents. That's what helped. Because I didn't feel so alone, so isolated. I was grieving and I was isolated and lonely. It was the worst time of my whole life. I've been through a lot in life, but that was by far the worst because it was scary and that was awful. So yeah, counseling, anything that helps. What's the difference between coaching and counseling? Counselors and therapists and psychologists, they tend to focus on the past and solving your problems. A coach moves forward. I'm solution-based. So I do need to go into the past sometimes, but that's not what I do really. I say, okay, it's sort of the difference between, let's say you go to a weight loss center. Do you discuss how you gained weight or how you're going to lose it? I'm more like that. I discuss how you're going to become a leader. I don't care what you did in the past so much, unless there's something that we have to work through. But generally that's the difference is counselors, they focus on fixing the past. I don't do that. I move forward in a more positive way. It's just different. And they also, counselors don't solve problems. They're taught not to. Therapists, psychologists, they're not there to solve your problems. They're there to listen to your past, right? Coach, I'm here to solve problems. So for sure. Oh, very lucky. You got 2 easy toddlers. So good for you. Yeah, they're not all kids are difficult. I would say my kids were in the easy department for sure. Yeah. My girl, 8 years old, took us very seriously about not talking to strangers, and now she looks at me for reassurance before replying to people, even a nice old lady at church. Yep. Nothing wrong with that. Better to be too safe than sorry. And then sometimes people will say, well, I don't want to scare my kids. I'd much rather scare my kids into being safe than the other, taking a risk. There's nothing more scary than being in a situation you don't want them to be in. So yeah, I have no problem scaring kids safe. No problem at all. Oh, you asked about co-sleeping. As a personal choice, I don't get into that. It's like homeschooling, religion. It's personal choice. It's not my lane. Yeah, if you want like co-sleeping, that's your personal choice. It's like breastfeeding till they're 5. Personal choice. It's not something I get into. Do we get advice from Instagram or just YouTube? I'll move to YouTube if so. Oh, pretty much everything I do, I think ends up on YouTube. Like our podcast ends up on YouTube. But like Instagram, I don't know. My daughter does all this stuff. I don't know. But all the lives and all the podcasts end up on YouTube. I think pretty much everything ends up on YouTube, but I don't know if she puts all the videos on there. I've never looked. I don't know. Anyway, if you want the most intensive free content, it's the podcast. Because the podcast is where I go into the most detail. So, and my existing clients, I always try and discourage clients from rehiring me, but most rehire me time and time again. But a lot of them now I'm saying, because I want to be able to take new clients on, right? Because I got this huge wait list. So, but a lot of them are saying, and I'll say, don't rehire me right away. I say, just listen to the podcast for a while. And a lot of them have said that has been enough, because just hearing my voice and I go into more detail, it sort of keeps them on track. So the podcast is where I go into a lot more detail. So it's good free content. Most of what we put out there is free. Coaching is really expensive. The courses aren't at all, but the coaching is really expensive, and there's a huge wait list. So I always try and steer people into the podcast, right? Because we're on there answering your questions, and that's on my website. That's where I think that's where you do that. Everything's on my website, BratBusters.com. Is your approach suited for neurodivergent children? That is too general or broad of a term, so I can't answer that. But generally, I teach parent-child relationships. It doesn't matter what the kids are dealing with. It's still parent-child relationship. Okay, that's all I do here. Like, a lot of my clients have children with special needs. I'm not a specialist with autism or anything, but I do know how to help them connect with their kids. And so all I am here is just parent-child relationship. If you have children who have special needs or anything unusual, then you also usually have them in some other program or something too, right? But a lot of the kids I worked with had neurodivergent issues and autism and all sorts of stuff. Good consequence for 3-year-old biting. We don't do physical discipline, but he thinks it's funny and doesn't seem to feel bad. He's biting his 9-month-old sister. Yeah, that's not good. Just put no biting on the behavior board and then follow through with the behavior board. Check it out. The behavior board is completely free. Just put no biting, and don't get caught up on what the consequences are. If he bites 3 times in one day, then I would go to the second consequence on that third time. Okay. So, because the kids always have 2 consequences. The first one is a positive action, get them to do a chore or a good deed. Okay. If they won't do that, then you do the negative deprivation one, which is usually 24-hour media blackout, or you take your favorite toy away for 24 hours. So you can go, if he bites 3 times in one day, I would go straight to the big one. Your kids are they're looking to you for leadership. They're desperate for it. They're just desperate for it. And parents seem to think their bad behavior is something to do with them. It has nothing to do with them. It's almost their way of asking for you to become a leader. Their behavior is it's all about you. It's not about them. Between the ages of 3 and 12, toddlers are kind of nuts anyway. They're kind of freewheeling. They're not formed yet, but 3 and above, their behavior, and up to about 12, their behavior is just a result of your parenting. That's it. You have so much more control than you realize, and power over your kids' self-esteem, confidence, pride. You relinquish so much of that power just by blaming them for it. Look in a mirror and say, I'm going to be a leader, because they will follow a leader. It's a natural instinct for a child to want, need, and crave a leader. And if you provide that, the difference in your kids is amazing. I've never worked with a kid or a teenager I couldn't get respect with. It's mutual. I give respect to get it. But yeah, if a kid even when I was working with kids, they weren't even my kids. I maybe saw them for an hour a week. If they did something naughty or whatever, or sometimes the teenagers vile, so they do something, and I always thought, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? You always look to yourself, and parents always want to fix their kids, but it has nothing to do with them. Very, very little. Some kids are more feisty than others for sure, but with a leader can always manage to get respect. So it's always you. You want to take full responsibility. Whenever some people like this don't usually follow me anymore, because I run them out of town by saying this. If you think that I'm blaming and shaming you, that's what you're doing to your kids. I am blaming you. I'm giving you the full responsibility. I'm giving you the power. Okay? But parents are very quick to blame their kids for their bad behavior, but then they get upset when I blame them for it. It's the wrong way to look at it. You're relinquishing all your power. And you're also blaming your innocent victims for what you're missing, right? So yeah, you have so much more power than you realize. Yeah, it's true. You talk about, reminds me of Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer. I'm lousy with dogs, by the way. I don't understand them. They walk all over me. I've had dogs my whole life. I spoiled them rotten. It's the same calm energy. It's exactly the same. And it's just done differently with dogs, obviously, because they're different. But yeah, it's just calm leadership. That's all it is. And understanding them enough to do it in their world. You know, a lot of parents want to do all these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions, thinking that if they understand why they shouldn't do something, they're not going to do it. It's insanity. It doesn't make sense to me at all. They don't act out because they don't understand it. They act out because you're not a leader. You know, it just doesn't make any sense at all. It's not a lack of understanding that makes them lack out or act out. It's your lack of leadership. So yeah, all this talking, and then I know it's common. I know it's a big sell out there right now, but it's garbage. And wherever you put your focus is what grows. If you put your focus into discussing their bad behavior so they understand it better, that's what's going to grow. If you put all your focus into the good kid, that's what you're going to get. That's where I put all my focus. I deal with bad behavior. It's like a business transaction. No emotions. I just deal with it, get over and done with. Then I focus on the good kid. That's when my emotions come out. Their love language is play, fun, joy, right? Okay. 13-year-old comes from a split home, no longer opening up. How can we get her to talk? I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers, which is my favorite age. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They are not asking for you to fix their problems. They just want a shoulder to cry on, right? So number 2, negotiate as much as possible with teenagers, almost everything. So say something like this: hey, I want your dirty dishes in the dishwasher from now on. What do you want from me? Let's start the negotiations, right? Showing respect. Number 3, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, I would just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did yesterday? Like, it's okay to make mistakes, right? Don't judge them for that. Don't punish them for every mistake. Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. When do you discuss the bad times with teenagers? Never. What's the point? There is none. Number 5, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy with a teenager, or an adult too. You can be a right fighter or you can be happy. Can't be both. And a teenager, once they've dug their heels in, they'll die on any hill. Even if they know they're wrong, they'll still argue till the end of time. So what's the point? How do we do the work to become a leader? The training wheels with all this stuff is the free behavior board on my website, BratBusters.com. You'll also be signing up to my newsletter. Stuff comes in all the time. You'll get announcements about the podcast. Also, we've got over 100 podcasts done now. We started it a year ago, and we do 2 a week now. And there's over 100 of them there. And there's also, you can literally search a topic on the podcast. That's where I go into the most detail about subjects other than coaching. And I'm always trying to sort of steer people away from coaching because it's really expensive and I've got a big wait list. Okay. So, but the podcast is a really good place to go instead of coaching or the course. A lot of people do both. And, but the podcast goes into a lot of detail, and it's my voice, and you can kind of get the inference, the leadership tone when you're talking to kids too. Like the way you discipline, you just talk differently when you're disciplining. Like if a kid did something naughty, I would say, okay, so that was a bad choice there. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get you to blah, 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 maybe empty the dishwasher. Okay. And I'll give you 15 minutes to do that. And that starts now. And all I am is a timekeeper. I do not discuss that dishwasher. I'm just timekeeping. If they start arguing, I just say, ooh, 10 more minutes. And I might just be filing my nails or leafing through a magazine. Just look, you want to look like you're keeping track of the time, but you're just waiting. See, there's no anger. There's no nagging. They can choose to empty the dishwasher or not. 15 minutes is up. They haven't done it. I'd say, I'll tell you what. So you broke the rule and then you didn't do the dishwasher, which was the consequence. So now 24-hour media blackout starts now. Do you understand? And that's how it's done. That's all the conversation I do around it. Parents want to explain. They are wrapping you around their little fingers. But why? But why do you? Well, because you should know. I would never answer that. Not in a million years. But why? Anyway, I'm going to go do the dishes now. There's no freaking way I would get into that. They've got you by the knackers when you start over-explaining yourself. The more you explain, the more they complain. Okay. I want to know your background. Oh, you mean my actual background? In Irish, German? No, I was told I was French and Irish for all my life. I was adopted, and they just made a mistake. I'm not. I'm Norwegian and French, but I always thought I had Irish in me. So every St. Patty's Day, I go, oh, a little bit of the Irish in me. There's no Irish in me at all because I've since had that DNA stuff done. But yes, I'm Norwegian and French. Anyway, and I was I'm in Vancouver. I'm Canadian. And I'm also Australian because my kids were born and raised in Australia. So I'm also Australian. I have clients all over the world. And I got to admit, the Irish clients, if they have a really heavy accent, a little bit hard for me to understand sometimes. A really thick accent sometimes. Depends on where they're from. Same with Scottish. I'm not good with those accents, but I manage. Anyway, I get clients all over the world. And what I find interesting, especially in like the countries like maybe Egypt or something, they've got cultures that I'm not used to. And they have very strict religion and social cultures. And I love that because I have to adjust some of my methods around that because I can't always, like some of my methods will not go, like sometimes the men will never be on a board. And I always say that everyone has to be on that behavior board. And sometimes the head of the family, the man, will not be on the board. And so I have to work around that. And sometimes I'll get them on there too. Like I have to sort of work around that. But I love it. I've learned so much about the world because when I'm coaching, it's so personal that you really get to understand people more from around the world. You don't just see them in tourist attractions, right? So you really get to understand. I just love that. Someone said, that is so sad. What's so sad? I'm just scrolling ahead. So I've got to, oh my goodness, so much. I'm just scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. What do you coach? I'm a parenting coach. My website is BratBusters.com if you're interested. Sometimes I used to do these lives every single day. For a couple of years, though, I just haven't had time anymore. But a lot of people used to think I was a psychic. I don't know how I talk, but they thought I was a psychic. I've never seen a live. Vancouver, born and raised here, living in US now. Oh, excellent. Yeah, I was born in Vancouver and I was here I've been here for most of my life, but I was 20 years in Australia as an adult. We're not known for being friendly in Vancouver. Very bad reputation. We're evidently very snotty. I heard that when I was a kid, and I still hear that. Okay. 3-year-old son is a runner. I hate runners. They scare the bejeebies out of me. I'm always worried they're going to run in front of a bus. So I would say if I'm out with him, I would say, look, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to have to put a leash on you. I would literally put a harness on him and put him on a leash and then keep him on that leash for the rest of that outing. So go somewhere you don't care about, that you don't have to go to practice this, and say, look, it's a life and death situation. A leash is better than being flattened by a bus. So eventually he'll learn. Stern. Oh, I never use the word stern. I don't know who you're talking about. Yeah, I don't use that word. Stern is a fear-based method. If you look stern, I don't like to do that ever. It makes you look like you're afraid of your kids. If you look stern, you look angry. Angry is fear-based. So I never look stern. I'm a leader. Leaders are different. Okay, I'm going to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, or if not, check out my website. It's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board. You can look into my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching if you want to work with me. I've got a big wait list right now, but I will get to it eventually. Or you can listen to the podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save them on YouTube. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. So if you want to watch us do it, that's where it is. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to TikTok now, and I'm on YouTube the whole time whenever I'm doing a live. Happy parenting. Okay, TikTok. Wow. I've got almost 1 million followers on TikTok now. It's just, can't even relate to that. Can't fathom that many people. Okay. Oh, does my 3-year-old, you just listen to my podcast about rudeness, does my 3-year-old understand what it means? Yes, he does. Because they don't, you'll know because they don't usually talk like that to a teacher or a preschool or whatever. That's how you know they know, because they'll talk to strangers differently. But they usually know. Yeah, they usually know. They intuitively know what rude is because it doesn't feel good to be rude. I feel there is a difference between stern and calm, assertive. I don't like the word assertive either. I don't like those words. I don't like stern, calm, or assertive. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't use those terms. So, yeah, you can use whatever terms you want, but I'm not using that. Okay. It just makes you sound scared. I don't like it. It makes you look weak. I never used it. I was mentoring troubled teens, and they all said that. They said, you're just always so calm, and it calmed them down. If you look stern, it's a challenge. It just, it's got a whole different energy. Can't stand it. Okay. I think we finally won. It's been an hour and a half of trying to get him to bed. It can take a while. Yeah. And then you said also about the rudeness. This another parent said he doesn't do that with grandparents. Now that I think about it, yeah, at 3, they usually 2.5. It just feels bad to be rude. So they instinctively, it's an instinctive thing. So I'm just going to look something up here. Okay. I wasn't going to talk about this. Someone talked about PDAs, pathological demand avoidance. It's connected with autism with kids. That's in the special needs department. I do not discuss that here. I only discuss special needs in coaching. That's why. I never discuss anything like that. I'm not qualified to assess or anything, but I work with a lot of my clients have children with special needs, autism, cognitive delays, whatever, physical disabilities. Maybe they've been abused in the past, have gone through trauma, but that's all coaching. I'm not going to generally talk about that. There's no way I can talk about that in a general sense. Do you like timeouts in a chair? I hate timeout. Can't stand it. Yeah, I think it's mean. I don't like it. And also, it's how would you feel if you made a mistake at work and your boss said, okay, go sit in the naughty chair for 5 minutes? They feel the same way. They just can't articulate it. I'm their voice. It's humiliating. It just makes them feel like crap. Yeah, I don't like it. If they feel bad, they do bad. I always want kids to feel good. They can be mad at me, but I don't want them to feel bad about themselves. A naughty chair or timeout makes them feel bad about themselves. That's why I don't do it. They can be mad all they want. I could care less. If I say no to something that I've got to say no to and they're mad, I don't care. That's okay. But if they feel bad, if they're sitting in a naughty chair and they're just feeling like crap sitting there, oh, it's mean. I hate it. Okay. Do you work with ADHD kids? Those are all the kids I learned this with. I didn't learn much with my own kids. It was all the kids I worked with. They all had ADHD, WXYZ. I called them alphabet kids. Okay, they're the exact same. They're not special needs. They're just, maybe it takes a little bit more time and patience. That's all. I'm constantly threatening throwing away toys. Yeah, you don't do that. Check out my free behavior board. It explains how you deal with bad behavior with toddlers and then also with older kids. It's the training wheels with all this. If you want to go further, look at the courses, the boot camp courses. But yeah, if you're threatening, it's weak. It's negative. It doesn't work. It's short term. In the short term, it might work, but it's not. It's just weak. It's a real weak thing to do. If a kid ever said to me, I'm going to touch it, and unless it's dangerous, obviously, but I'm going to do it, I would be like this. Oh, do whatever you want. Like there's no way I would micromanage a kid. Let them do whatever they want. If they make a bad choice, then I'm going to come in and say, okay, you chose to do that. Here's your consequence. I never try and threaten I never try and stop them from doing something. I allow them to make their own choices. And then I come in later if they made a bad one. Okay. Like my kids, I used to say to my kids, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of it because I'm your mom and that's my job. So in other words, just be good and life is good. That was their choice and they were. So they understood it was all up to them. Once you start threatening, you're trying to micromanage. You're trying to avoid something. I don't do that. I let them do it. Let them do whatever they want, unless it's damaging or hurting them or something. Would your program be good for an autistic child? A lot of the people going through the program have kids with autism on the spectrum. It just depends. I can't recommend it with children with autism because I don't know. Usually anything special needs is coaching. That's usually the way I say, because I have to ask a lot of questions, right? I have to figure it out. I have to figure out what I always say with kids with autism, we're throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I need to know what's stuck in the past and what hasn't. So I need history with kids with autism and what kind of programs are they in? What kind of support do you have? So yeah, that's why I can't generalize. But a lot of people who have kids with special needs still like the course because it teaches parent-child relationship. So regardless of what kind of conditions your child has, or sometimes I have parents with challenges too, parent-child relationship is still kind of applicable anyway. There's a lot of acronyms coming up on TikTok tonight. Why is that? Just like acronym city. And by the way, you have to put an age down for me to answer. Okay, what do you do with a 7-year-old who's violent? Do I need to restrain her? She's punches. Yeah, she's punch. That's sort of, I call that red zone. If you've got a kid, especially 7 and older, who's hitting parents or hitting other people, that's red zone. It's harder to do because they're bigger and it's harder to physically restrain them. Start getting respect you can put down no hitting on the behavior board, and whenever they do, there's a consequence. But you want to start working on your relationship with your child. Your connection with your child is your biggest strength anyway. It's not the disciplining, it's the connection and the bonding. So start connecting with your child, put a rule down for you, and then you get a consequence when you break the rule. Make sure you break the rule because you want to show them how this is done. So yeah, that's red zone. That would almost just be coaching. Yeah. 7 and over, they're just getting bigger. It's harder to deal with the physical stuff when they get that age. And some of my clients have teenagers who are punching them in the face. I mean, it can get ugly. You don't want to go there. You don't want to let that keep happening. Okay, this is a good question. And I'm very much a childproof. I childproof my home because I don't want to have to worry about kids getting into stuff. Although I got a granddaughter now, she doesn't get into anything. They've got presents out. They don't childproof anything. She never gets into anything. It's really weird. Both my kids would have been more precocious than her. She's only 2. Maybe she will get into stuff, but yeah, wow. And sometimes that happens. I've heard of kids who just never get into anything. They just say, don't touch, and she doesn't. Like, wow. Okay. Anyway, what they asked was, husband and I are in disagreement on the Christmas tree this year. He wants to skip it so we don't have to police it, and I don't want to have it with the understanding it will lead to them touching. Okay. So what I did with my kids is I put the Christmas tree, when they were really little, I put the Christmas tree in a playpen so they couldn't get at it. Then as they got older, it looked really weird, but I put the couch in an odd corner and I put the Christmas tree on a table behind the couch so they couldn't get to it that way. And then as they got older, I just policed it. And then they got to about 3 and they didn't touch anything anyway. But when they were toddlers, that's what I did. I didn't want to have to worry about it. And plus I'm a safety nut. I mean, we had plugs, lights plugged into it too. And I thought they weren't particularly precocious, but I thought, what if they touched that electrical socket? So that's what I did. Okay, if they don't positive action and have the negative. Okay. So I always have two consequences for the kids on the behavior board, 3 and above. So the first consequence is a positive action. So let's say the rule was no hitting. They hit someone, then the positive action was they have to empty the dishwasher. Okay. If they refuse to do that, then you have to go to the negative deprivation. So you take something away. So I always say third strike, you're out. They have the first two choices are theirs. They can either do the bad behavior or not. That's their choice. Then they can have the first consequence or not. That's their choice. The third one, I take control. So I take something away. It's usually 24-hour media blackout. What this parent was asking was, what do we do if they keep doing the same behavior over and over again? They've already got 24-hour media blackout. Your hands are tied. But what I say is well, that's why you've got 24-hour media blackout. You're investing in tomorrow. They might think twice before they do it again. But in that 24 hours, yeah, they're in charge, kind of free for all. Yep, it's just the way it is. I got this cute story that one of my clients is really cute. The little boy was 7 years old, and he had 24-hour media blackout. He loved his PlayStation or whatever gaming console he had, and he had to go without it for 24 hours. He didn't know the mom could hear him, and he sat down after the 24 hours was over. He sat down with his console and his little controller, and he said to himself, I won't be doing that again. Is that the cutest thing? He learned. So yeah, it was a rough 24 hours, but he didn't do it again. A lot of this is investing in tomorrow. A lot of parents that want to know, what do I do right now? Well, you're investing in tomorrow sometimes. And also, while they've got that 24-hour media blackout, they're not in the doghouse. A lot of parents make that mistake. They want to discuss all the bad behavior, and they're kind of mad at them. It's already over. Look at the pool story. That's if you Google BratBusters pool story, it'll pop up, and it explains how you do all this. You deal with bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid, and you don't talk about the bad behavior. Never. Deal with it and then shut up about it. Parents want to keep going on and on and on and discussing it so they understand. Oh my God, they already understand. Don't do that to them. Discussing bad behavior makes them feel bad. When they feel bad, they do bad. When they feel good, they do good. That's why the pool story is a really good message. It's a true story. It's how I treat kids. Will you have a discount code for Black Friday for boot camp or coaching? I don't know yet. You'll have to wait and find out. My daughter does all that anyway. We actually don't talk about stuff a lot. She's in charge of all that stuff. And when she's talking to me about all the plans, and I just kind of zone out, she just tells me what to do. She's given me a bunch of stuff to film. She just tells me what to do. She's a workaholic. I'm not condoning it. I wish she wouldn't work so hard, but she loves business, loves it. So yeah, she does all that. Oh, I don't do teachers. I don't know anything about teaching. A lot of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. I couldn't do their jobs, but they also struggle with parenting. They're very different. That's why. Parenting is personal. Those are business. Teaching is business. Some stuff crosses over, but a lot doesn't. One thing that's really common that parents try to bring home, a lot of teachers do, is the reward chart. Total disaster at home. Works beautifully in a classroom because it's not personal. 30 kids are on it. It's a reward chart for good behavior. At home, it's a disaster. If you get a reward chart for good behavior at home, it's just awful. You know what you're saying to your kids? You're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a gold star. It's a disaster. Could you imagine your spouse having one for you? Oh, if you're good, I'll get you a chocolate bar after dinner. Yeah. Could you imagine? Oh, you were so good today. Here's your reward chart. It's patronizing. It's an insult. Behavior board says you're normally wonderful. If you should happen to do something naughty, we'll deal with it, right? What's your opinion on circumcision? I have no opinion on it. I'm not a doctor. So yeah, that's a personal choice. Oh, good night, Tabitha. Says we're getting ready for bed. She's a regular on YouTube. My toddler keeps punching really bad. When I say no, he does it harder. Do I ignore this? What do you mean when you say no? What do you do? What do you follow it up with? Like saying no means nothing. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. They're all about actions. Toddler is 16 to 35 months. They need consistent corrective action. If he hits, you say no, and you take a favorite toy away. You remove yourself. In other words, you remove him from the fun or fun from him. You send a message. You do something physical. Remove him from the fun or the fun from him. If he keeps trying to hit, you prevent future hits. Now that you know he's on a roll, and you don't look at him or talk to him. discussing it is a disaster. It's all these mini therapy sessions. I know they're trendy. They sound lovely. Discuss all their big feelings and big emotions. It's garbage. If they're acting out, you don't discuss all their big feelings and big emotions. It's garbage. Look at the pool story. You want to make kids feel good about themselves. Discussing all their big feelings and big emotions around bad behavior especially makes them feel awful. It's terrible. Anyway, I could go on and on about that. Some of my favorite clients are child psychologists because they want to know the psychology behind this. I don't have the correct terms because I have no training, but they want to know exactly why it's so important not to discuss all the big feelings and big emotions around bad behavior. They really want to know why. And I get into it. But I always make sure I say, well, look, you're wasting your money just asking me to explain it. But anyway, some of them do want me to explain all that. It's based on where you put your energy is what grows. Putting your energy and focus into discussing the bad behavior and how they're feeling about it and everything, it's just going to keep growing. They're going to keep being bad. Where you put your energy and focus is what grows. That's the basis for all this. Is there only one rule per person on the behavior board? Yes. Yeah. And you can have attitude for the parents, like no yelling, no mean expression, no mean tone. You can put that for the parents, not for the kids though. No attitude for the kids. You can't address that. Their bad attitude towards you is your fault anyway. Don't blame the kids for that. It means you're not a leader. Okay. So you can't put down something. You can't blame them for what you caused. So if they have a bad attitude towards you, that's your fault. So that's why you can't put it down. Just means you're not a leader yet. You got to work on that. The behavior board, you get that on my website. It's BratBusters.com. And it's at the very top. You'll see it. It says get access. And it's completely free. Most of what we put out is free. I go into the most detail about all this stuff in the podcast. And the podcast now, we've done over 100 of them, and we've only been on for a year. And we've done over 100 of them. You can literally look up different topics on there because we've covered a lot. So yeah, you can literally, it's like a bank of information in the podcast. And that's where I go into the most detail. I'm talking about general topics, but I'm also answering your questions. Okay. Are you on Spotify? I don't know. Does it have podcasts on it? I don't know. I don't listen to podcasts. Probably am. We're on all the platforms. So we got asked to talk to someone. Who would that be? One of the platforms. Is it Spotify? We had a meeting with someone because our podcast is doing well. So they wanted to help us. They're like, here's how you keep going. I don't know if it was Spotify. I can't remember. Is that a podcaster? No, I think it was Apple we talked to. Is Apple Spotify? Is it the same thing? I don't know. Anyway, if you go on my website, you'll see my podcast, BratBusters.com. It'll be on there. I'll look it up here. I don't know what's going on. My daughter does all this stuff. So our jobs don't interact at all, except when we do the podcast together, and that's it. Okay, so in my website, BratBusters.com. I see. There's a whole. You can just scroll through and watch whatever you want. Oh, I see. Oh, wow, this is really neat. Where to listen. Okay. Oh, I see. You can listen to BratBusters on your favorite podcast player. It includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and more. So yeah, I think once you go on one, because you pay for it, right? So once you go on one, then they just put you out to all of them. I don't know. It's going really well. We just started it a year ago and it went so well that now we're doing 2 a week. That's why we're not doing a lot of other stuff that we wanted to do, because my daughter does a lot of work. Like it takes a lot for her to to edit the podcast. So. Well, this is a question. I'll tell you why I can't really answer it. You said, what happens when you enter a Thanksgiving dinner and your 3-year-old keeps crying? Are you a leader or not? Like, as a leader, I would just say, you're all right. And I just let them sit somewhere else. I wouldn't push them in the Thanksgiving dinner. I wouldn't do that to people. I think that's rude to push a crying kid on other people. So I would just say, they're all right. I'll feed them in the other room. And I wouldn't sit with them, though. I would put them somewhere where I could see them, and I wouldn't give them very much attention. They'll get over it. If you put too much attention and focus on that crying, it's going to validate it. I would just say, you're all right. You can go eat over there then. Okay. I wouldn't do that to people. I think it's rude. I just ignore her. She'll be fine. Like, I remember the difference, and I can remember this as a kid. My mom was the leader. My dad was the pleaser. If I started crying because I was shy and I didn't want to go somewhere, my dad would, it's okay, sweetie. Do you want to sit with me? I would have got worse. He was feeding it. My mom would have said, you're all right. You can just go sit over there. So I would have ended up sitting with them anyway. She just didn't make a big deal out of that stuff. So I didn't see it as a big deal. Right? She was a leader more. Yeah. She says, you're all right. You'll survive. Oh, okay. They're feeding off your energy half the time, or most of the time. It's like when my daughter was, she was a Velcro kid. She was a mummy's girl. And I was always trying to push her into being more independent. And so I signed her up to ballet, and she was 3 years old. And it was an open room. I'm sitting right there, like 20 feet away, maybe even 10 feet away. And she looks over at me, and she goes like this, looking at me. This is what she would have seen. Exactly what my mother would have done, like, you're all right. And she went, oops, and then she was fine. If I'd gone, oh, my angel, she would have started crying. See, so I was like, you're all right. That's what that look said. You'll survive. I'm right here. I was right there. So, yeah, you don't feed that stuff, and it stops. If you keep feeding it and talking about it, you're all right. Go ahead and dance. Go ahead. Of course, they're going to get worse. Okay. Sorry, I have to get going now. If you want to watch this live over, if you want to, I always save all my lives on YouTube. Whenever I do a live, I'm on YouTube the whole time, and I bounce from Facebook, and then I go to Instagram and then TikTok. And thanks for your support on here. I'm nearing 1 million followers on TikTok. Mind blowing. I have no idea. I think I started on here 3 years ago, and I just had my phone, and my daughter kept saying for about a year or two, Mom, you got to get on TikTok. It's for you. Because I don't like planning anything, and I just like talking. I don't want to think. I don't care how I look or anything. So I just was in my bathroom holding the phone. It was kind of jiggling, and I'm just talking about parenting. I blew up overnight. I couldn't believe it. And I was absolutely shocked. But you know what? I mean, we talk about this all the time because I've been in business for 20 years. And I was doing okay, but nothing like the last 3 years has just been mind-blowing. But I think people are ready to hear this. I think that pleaser style parent had a real hold on parents for many, many years. And they realized it didn't work. The schools are a disaster. They can't handle the kids at all. Teachers are quitting right, left, and center. I think people are just ready to hear what I'm saying. Leadership is not about authority. It's not about being a dictator. It's about giving respect to get it. My goal is always that kids like themselves when they're with me. Think about it. If you like yourself, you do good. If you don't like yourself, you don't. If you feel good, you do good. If you feel bad, you do bad. So my goal is always that kids like themselves. That is always what I'm teaching here. It's not about discipline. It is part of it, but it's mostly connecting and making kids feel good about themselves. I want them to feel like they have control and choices in their own life. You make a good choice, everything's great. You make a bad choice, mom's coming in to take care of it, right? That's the attitude, okay? No, I don't have a book. I just haven't had time to write one. Maybe one day, I thought I was going to do it this year, but the podcast kind of took over. So anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out my website, BratBusters.com. Get my free behavior board, my courses, coaching, and look into the podcast. Happy parenting.